Hey, so we have spoken a little bit about heroes. Please look back on my channel if you want to see which heroes to prioritize. But we are now going to look at each hero, one by one, the free-to-play heroes. We're not going to worry about pay heroes. We're just going to look at the free-to-play heroes that you get when you're starting out and what they're good for and how long you might be using them for. So let's just jump right in. Rose Knight is absolutely awesome. And we always want to click on the book icon to see what she does. She's giving us army attack boost 20%, cavalry HP boost 50%. These are excellent war talents. Timber supply, look, a lot of guilds are going to tell you need to hyper. If you're a main account, in my opinion, you shouldn't hyper. Main accounts should not hyper. Main accounts, okay, just to explain that, hypering means producing one type of resource, only one type of resource, and then sharing that with the guild. But the degree to which that benefits you depends on your access to the bank. And okay, some guilds have got bots. You just send like a little message and bang, you get your resources. But in most beginner guilds, resources are sent by hand, they're sent manually. And in that case, you're just making resources for the big guys to use and whoever has access to the bank. In my personal opinion, it's far better to be independent. And in that case, you are not going to hyper. Okay, so if you are running an alt that only produces timber, presumably you already know the score. And yes, then that timber supply management is going to help you. But otherwise, it's not of importance. What is Rose good for? She's brilliant in Colosseum. You always want to send her in your Colosseum lineups. Colosseum gives you a chance to make gems. She's brilliant in hero stages. You just flatten those hero stages. Even when you've got only silver Rose Knight, you might want to rank her up a little bit. She's not good in Monster Hunt. Let's think about what we use. We use heroes for war, including Darkness, and this one is brilliant. We use them for hero stages until we've got our heroes maxed. She's brilliant in that. We use them in Colosseum to make gems. She's brilliant in that. And we use them for Monster Hunt. She's not very useful for Monster Hunt. Okay. So that's Rose Knight, brilliant hero, very well worth having, and she is free to play. You can get her through your normal hero stages. But, yeah, I kind of like the cheat where you buy a pack, can be a very small pack, a $2 pack, and bang, you've got Rose Knight. Saves you a lot of hassle. It's a difficult hero stage to unlock. Okay, enough about Rose. Let's go to Tracker. Now, Tracker has got ranged attack boost, which makes her very, very good ranged attack hero. So, when you're attacking a dark nest or a target and you want to send ranged, she's going to add 30% to that ranged attack. The defense boost is not interesting. The all supply, see hypering, we just discussed that. But she is brilliant in Monster Hunt and she is super useful in Colo. Along with Rose Knight, you'll normally see people sending Tracker in Colo right up to the highest levels. Very important hero, and she's free to play. Next, Soul Forger. Now, he's sometimes useful in Colo. He's not useful in Monster Hunt. And he is useful in war because he is quite a good infantry attack hero. Now, I think that's about all we really need to say about him. Let's move on. Elementalist. Now, this is a very specialized hero. It is a siege hero. And siege heroes you are never, ever, ever going to send on attack, ever, even if you're sending siege troops, which you would very rarely do. You do that maybe when you're very, very small. So, Elementalist, you're only really going to use Elementalist for Monster Hunt. He's not much good in Colo. I see Elementalist in Colo, I'm like, yeah, let me add him. And 9 times out of 10 I win. So not very good in Colo, not a good battle hero, but certainly very, very good in Monster Hunt when you're hunting monsters that deal physical damage and you want to send a magical damage set. Enough about him. Okay, Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is very awesome. We love that infantry HP boost of 50%. We love that infantry attack boost of 30%. Further than that, not interested in the trap boost. He is useful in Colosseum, in certain constellations, in fact, in a heck of a lot of them. If you're looking at a basic Colosseum set just to get started, I would suggest this one. He's great in hero stages, although he does tend to die quite quickly because he jumps to the back. That's his job. He jumps to the back and he attacks whatever's in the back row, and that does lay him open to certain degrees. So in hero stages you might want to upgrade him a bit. He is good in Monster Hunt when you are hunting monsters that deal magical damage and you want to send a physical damage set, you definitely want him for that. He's very, very vital to your monster hunt. So monster hunt, war, which includes dark nests, but that is and hero stages, of course, but and Carlo, yeah, he's kind of broadly a useful hero, so yeah, consider him. What else do you need or get for free? Bombing Goblin. Now, he, as I have mentioned in my previous video, this is a perfect all-round leader to use if you're going to be a little bit aggressive. Good for, in other words, war. Good for darkness, which is just a kind of dummy war. He's not that useful in Colosseum. Yeah, there are times when you might just side swipe somebody with him, but I don't use him in Colo. He is, however, very, very good in Monster Hunt. So Monster Hunt, hero stages to a certain extent, but not so much. But okay. If he's what you got, he's what you got, right? So Colo, no, not really, but definitely Monster Hunt, and definitely any form of attack. Yes, he's theoretically a ranged hero, but that army attack boost 20% you get whether you send ranged troops or not. So very, very well worth having. I used to have him in my cav set as well as my range set. So very useful hero. Let's go to the next one. And the Monster Hunt is really, really awesome. Trickster. Trickster is really only good for research. He is quite good in Colo because he's difficult to bring down. He's quite useful in hero stages for the same reason. He's got staying power. But he's... Oh, yes. And he is kind of useful in Monster Hunt. But just don't even use him in... Don't use him... Oh, well, actually... You can use him in Colo. You can use him basically anywhere, but the only place where you should never use him is war. Don't use him in war. He's like useless in war unless you have nothing better. And you should be able to get something better. You don't send this guy to any form of attack because he's just useless. Very good for the energy regeneration, very good for the research boost. And please note, you do not need to equip him. If you look there, it says research boost passive. So you'll see activates when equipped. That means you need to have that hero in your lineup before it's going to give you the boost. This here is passive, which means you just have to own him to get all these boosts. You don't have to set him. So that's Trickster. Child of Light, fantastic cavalry hero. Fantastic, love it. Attack boost, HP boost. That's all you really want. Sometimes useful in Colosseum, depending on the constellation. He is a tank. He takes a lot of damage. He goes into the front row. He does the sort of freeze thing, which is kind of useful. I used to have a lot of trouble beating him until I discovered that you can beat him with Snow Queen in the right constellation. He is good for attack. He's good for Colo. He is less useful for Monster Hunt, but he is very useful for hunting one particular one, Gargantua. Gargantua, you will send your magic attack set, which we went through in the previous video. But instead of sending Sage of Storms, you're going to replace him with Child of Light to do more damage, and it really, really works. And that, as far as I know, is the only monster where you send Child of Light is Gargantua. So yeah, useful hero? Yeah, I would say so. Good in hero stages too. Death Arch is one of the first heroes that you get. She is very, very good ranged attack hero. So yes, you will use her in ranged attack when you're attacking another player or when you're attacking a darkness where you want to send range. Hypering, we've discussed. I'm not crazy about that. The other thing is not particularly interesting. So, slightly lower priority hero. You're not going to use her in Monster Hunt. You're definitely not going to use her in Colo unless you have nothing better, because she is so super easy to kill in Colo. When I see her, I'm like, yes, I'm going to rank up. And some people still send her, and I'm like, very few instances where I don't beat a lineup with Death Archer in Colosseum. Death Knight is also one of the heroes you get fairly early on. And as you can see, he gives cavalry HP boost, which definitely makes him a good cavalry attack hero for darkness and for attacks. He is a tank. He can take a ton of damage. So he's one of the things that you will consider sending to Colosseum. And he's going to be pretty good in your hero stages. In Colosseum, I'm going to say use him when necessary in your attack lineup. When you want something that can absorb a lot of damage from the back, without affecting your other troops to a large degree, then this guy's actually quite good in Colosseum. And he's good in war. But he's not good in Monster Hunt. He's not included in most Monster Hunt lineups. It's in any Monster Hunt lineups that really, really work. And there was another thing about him. In Colosseum, don't set him in your defense lineup unless he's got a boost on him in the star constellation, because when I see him I go, oh, I'm going to level up, seriously. Yes, he does take a lot of damage. Yes, he's quite useful in Colosseum, but if you know how to beat him, you know how to beat him. And in most constellations you can actually take him down with Snow Queen in the right position. So not very, very useful in Colo, up to a point if you're attacking and you're doing an attack lineup and you just want something to absorb damage. But for your defense lineup, probably not going to include him unless you have nothing better. Prima Donna is only really a healer. That's all she's really good for. Siege Engine, you're not interested in. She is very, very useful in your hero stages. She's very, very useful in Colo. You're not going to use her in Monster Hunt, and you are never going to use her in attack. Next. Snow Queen is often underrated early on in the game by players because she goes down very fast in hero stages before she's upgraded. You want to upgrade her. She can freeze an entire line of things coming at you in a hero stage. If you can get her, her ultimate best hit, if you can keep her alive long enough for that. And the way to keep her alive long enough is partly through where you place her in your formation, but also partly through upgrading her, basically. Very, very useful hero for ranged attack. Take a look at that. And ranged HP. She is a beauty for your darkness and your attacks. Love this hero. Use her a lot in Colo for the same reason, that freeze. She's brilliant for taking down Child of Light. She's brilliant for taking down Demon Slayer. Oh no, not Demons. Yeah, Demon Slayer. And Death Knight. She's just a super useful hero. Right in the beginning, she's not going to look that way. Have patience. She will be very useful. Black Crow is a free-to-play hero. Yes. Unfortunately, she only gives max HP boost, but that is still a useful skill. It's going to help you in battle. So she is a potential battle hero, but she is, strictly speaking, ranged. That's basically the one trick fiddle that she does. Not useful in any other way except in Colosseum, hero stages, and Monster Hunt. She's one of your physical set that you send against magical monsters, and very useful in that sense. So quite a good hero, quite a good hero. You want priorities? I've covered that elsewhere. So here we are in my baby account. So you can see at this point we're getting to the things that I haven't made gold yet, very soon. Oathkeeper, very first hero that you get. He is a good infantry attack hero. He does give infantry HP boost as well as attack boost, which makes him brilliant for your dark mists and your attacks. He is not useful in Colosseum unless you have nothing better, because he dies quite easily. And he occupies a tank position right in the front line where he's going to get killed quite fast. He is, okay, you're going to use him in hero stages, so you're going to upgrade him up to a point. You're not going to use him for Monster Hunt. Next up, Night Raven. Now, this one I actually only upgraded for the cavalry attack boost on this particular account. He is not useful for anything else, seriously, except maybe hero stages when you've got nothing better. But he dies far too easily, in my opinion. He's not good in Colo, he's not good in Monster Hunt. He's kind of like, it's a bit stopgap there. But I upgraded him for the cavalry attack boost. Yeah, he is a nice cavalry attack hero. Scarlet Bolt, not so useful. Only defense boost. So you're ideally not going to send this particular hero to any battle at all. Be it, what's the one where you bang heads? Showdown? Or, she's quite useful in Colosseum. A very nasty combination includes having Scarlet Bolt and Demon Slayer with Rose Knight, a healer, and Tracker at the back. And that is quite a mean combination. When I see it, I'm like, I'm not sure I'm going to beat this guy, depending on the constellation. So you're quite good in Colosseum, but not in Monster. Actually, she is. She's in the physical Monster Hunt set, so she is quite useful in Monster Hunt, but definitely not, as far as I'm concerned, a war hero by any means. So Monster Hunt, Colosseum, hero stages, yeah, she's quite useful, but not full. And now we start getting to the ones I haven't got around to really leveling up yet. Look, Brewmeister, I would love to level up. And I might be able to actually this time, because I did complete my solo in Dragon Arena. And it was so funny because about 6 people came in and tried to solo this account. And she doesn't actually have a heck of a lot of tier 2. All her tier 4 were out at buildings. And I kept 4 leaders. It was hilarious. And I didn't burn. It was insane. I also got some re-in, though, from members of the guild. Okay, so he is a passive hero. You've got nice things happening there. And at gold, it's going to be even better. 10% at gold HP, which is really, very nice. But notice that it is a passive skill. So you really don't need to equip this hero at any point. But he does give you these attack boosts, so kind of useful. I would not send him on an attack because he's giving me his boosts anyway, whether I equip him or not. I'd rather put something else in that gives me some kind of benefit. And then he is also sitting there in the background. He's not equipped, but he's giving me these passive boosts, which is totally insane and very, very nice. Very, very super useful hero in Colosseum. In certain constellations, one always has to put in that rider, but he is very, very useful in Colosseum. I use him quite a lot. Never use him in Monster Hunt. You're probably not going to really be using him in hero stages. You might, I don't know. You know, they've opened it to closed kingdoms. I have no idea what the gameplay would be like getting this hero early on. Before, it was only available in open kingdoms, which means unprotected kingdoms. Your kingdom gets protection for about 6 months. Okay. This one, utterly useless in war. By now you should be seeing the pattern. If it's a siege engineer, useless in war. Very useful in Colosseum. Very good for taking out Demon Slayer. If you put her in the 2nd position, just behind the tank. She is also very good in Monster Hunt. So yeah, you know, don't think she's a useless hero. She's pretty good in Monster Hunt. In your magical set that's going to take down monsters that deal physical damage. And she's very, very good in Colosseum. You might find her useful in hero stages. I'm unsure at this point where you get her, what time you get her. This is definitely one of the ones you get early on, and he's pretty darn useless. However, he does have monster hunting benefits, and that is, as far as I can think, really the only thing that he does that's worth anything is that monster hunting benefit. We have discussed the construction boost. I don't think it's important because you have to save up so many gems to get your gem buildings up. There's 3 buildings that you really need gems to upgrade, and you know, most people get a little bit stuck with that, so speeding through your other constructions doesn't make much sense. I would use him purely as a monster hunting hero. Is useless in Colo. Yeah. Pegasus was an event hero. We're not going to look at him. Watcher is extremely difficult to get. You're not going to get him for the first 2 or 3 years that you're playing the game, because you have to do hell events in order to get his medals. And, you know, he's really hard to get to gold. My main has him to gold, but, you know, it took a few years. Shade is a free-to-play hero, and he's not particularly useful except in Colosseum. Actually, don't underrate him in Colosseum, and a lot of people don't know what to do with him. So you set him in your defense lineup, people are scared to attack you. And he tends to attack your opponent's 2nd row, and he tends to be quite good at taking down magic dealers, in my opinion. But, yeah, he's really only a Colosseum hero. I invariably find that is one of the last heroes I upgrade. This one here is actually quite a good infantry attack hero. This account is one infantry specialist. Later on, of course, I will upgrade this hero. But, you know, later on, that attack boost can be very nice at 30%. And that is really the only reason you want him. I have seen him doing fairly well in Colosseum, but he's not that useful in Monster Hunt. You can use him as a stopgap while you're waiting to get your full set together. And he would go into your magical set, your magical attack set, attacking physical monsters, but only when you've got nothing better. So I think that's it for the free-to-play heroes. Probably missed a few things, invariably do, but hopefully that gives you an idea of what these different heroes do. When you're looking at a hero, you're looking at how good is it in hero stages, how good is it in Colosseum, is it useful for Monster Hunt, and then finally, is it useful for attack and Colosseum. And those are different issues completely. We can maybe later go and make a video about top Colosseum heroes, top Monster Hunt heroes. I did put a little bit more information on this in a previous video, so do check back on my channel if you want to know more.